Let's see. Are crows OP or not? I will. Before watching the video, I'm just gonna say yes. It is totally not biased and not based on the fact that, you know, I might or might not have wings from them.
They've already lost. They just don't know it. Hit from behind! Stop looking at me! Attack! Save it for the enemy! We've lost control of the command post.
Nice.
Primates are notorious for their incredibly broken intelligence stat, which grants them access to incredible advanced techniques such as tool use, coordinated team strategies, and even bartering and trade. But primates are not the only factor in the game with a high intelligence stat. Cetacean, cephalopod, and bird mains also commonly opt not to spec into powerful damage-dealing abilities, and instead invest into leveling up their brain power skill tree. While this does seem like a risky choice, leaving the player more vulnerable in direct 1v1 combat, in actuality this often results in a much less risky playthrough, as the player's intelligence opens up more options for them to progress that don't require winning in combat. This is especially true of the bird faction, as their ability to fly already allows them to quickly escape most unfavorable combat encounters.
Wow,
Today, we're
that cat!
One of the two main intelligence-centered bird builds, the faction that contains crows, ravens, and magpies, the Corvid. This video is going to focus mostly on crows as an example, but generally what I say in this video should apply to most classes. First, let's discuss their stats, as well as the abilities and strategies that exemplify them. We'll begin with their stealth stat, which Corvids aren't particularly excellent in. The most popular Corvid skins are either jet black or piebald, neither of which grant the user that strong of a stealth bonus. In fact, in snowy areas, jet black feathers are actually one of the least effective choices when trying to remain hidden. A dark appearance is most effective as camouflage at night, but crows and other Corvids are not nocturnal builds, so they aren't really gaining this benefit from it. Now, granted, stealth typically isn't all that important for birds, given how agile and vigilant they are. Plenty of other high-tier avian builds, like for example parrots, are arguably some of the least stealthy birds in the game, and they do just fine. You could even argue that
they do just fine. I mean, they kind of get trapped inside our cages and petified. Like,
Corvids are even less stealthy than their black feathers initially appear, as their iridescence actually makes them even easier to see for certain other players, typically other birds. Ultimately, I think it's safe to say stealth is not an important part of their game plan, at least nowhere near as important as it is for ambush predator builds like the owl. The main predators a crow needs to worry about are raptors, and because of the raptor's keen eyesight ability, it's unlikely having a higher stealth stat would make much of a difference anyway.
damn.
The crow's defense and constitution stats are fairly average for a bird, which is to say not great.
Can I just say, like, this picture is pretty badass, even though it's like a sad picture. It's like, what the heck?
Birds have hollow bones, and their feathers offer fairly little in terms of defense. Feathers do absorb some blunt force damage, but when it comes to slashing and piercing damage, it's nearly useless. And because of their hollow bones,
I've never seen birds fight each other like that.
The benefit there kind of cancels out as well. Snakes, cats, raccoons, raptors, and dogs all have a high chance of taking a crow out in one hit, so they cannot let their guard down when interacting with any damage dealer builds. Given that their playstyle necessitates taking some risk, crow players definitely wish they had more room for error. Thankfully, their next stat makes it pretty easy to avoid damage. The crow's mobility is a little above average for a mid-sized bird, which is to say, excellent. Birds in general are just extremely agile, both on the ground and in the air, making them extremely hard to land an attack on if they see you coming. Some bird builds, like geese and junglefowl, require significant startups in order to get airborne, meaning that they can't rely on their flight to escape danger if the danger is already right in front of them.
Easy, oh my god. I didn't even realize that they get hunted like this. I'm like, seriously?
Crows are not one of these bird builds, and in contrast, the startup on their flight move has some shockingly broken frame data, and allows them to quickly and easily reposition themselves in basically any direction in 3D space almost instantly.
Crows can fly at speeds of 30 to 60 miles per hour. Dang.
This makes their ability to dodge attacks one of the best in the entire game, and makes what would normally be fairly dangerous positions, such as right next to a powerful predator, quite safe as long as the Corvid doesn't use any laggy moves. This synergizes well with the Corvid's combat moveset, as we'll discuss in a moment. Corvids
They're
are
just
blessed with many high
cheesing.
stats, but power is not one of them. Their ability to deal damage is one of the weakest in their weight class, as their only attack option is a simple pecking strike.
Damn.
This move has quick startup and very little end lag, but its damage is egregiously low. Simply attacking with this move will deal minimal damage to anything larger than an insect. Most players will be able to ignore
Feels
this
bad,
damage.
man.
However, this doesn't mean a crow's attacks are useless. It just means they've got to be clever about how they use them. A well-placed peck can provoke an attack, and if you're able to move out of the way quick enough, the enraged player will end up being forced to lash out at whoever just happens to be nearby, and create an opening for the Corvid player to capture
Wow.
an objective, steal some loot, or escape trouble. It might seem like a jank
Jesus
strategy,
Christ.
but really this is the bread and butter of Corvid gameplay, and can lead to massive swings in advantage.
That's so
The chance to inflict the
trolly.
enraged status effect scales with the user's intelligence stat. So the reason this strategy works so well is that the Corvid's intelligence stat is ridiculously high for a non-primate build. Corvids are tied with parrots for the
This is redirecting provokes. It's like, hey, I heard that guy over there, should talk to you.
highest intelligence stat in the entire avian faction. And in addition to enabling the goading strike moveset, having high intelligence grants Corvids access to a lot of other powerful techniques too, including the ability to use tools. Tool use is one of the most notoriously powerful abilities in the entire game, and in crows this is no less true. By
Damn.
using hook-shaped wooden sticks, crows can score kills on grubs that are normally safe from everything except for woodpecker attacks. And given how many expensive
Wow.
niche perks woodpeckers need to spec into in order to perform these sorts of drilling attacks, the ability to bypass all of that investment while still gaining the same rewards is a huge boon to the crows. But high intelligence has far more benefits than just allowing crows to copy the success of hyper-specialized builds. Arguably the most important benefit is team tactics. This is what allows baboons to fight off lions,
It's always
what allows ants to
impressive.
bring down tarantulas, and what allows wolves to prey upon bison.
It's always impressive to see just how smart of a creature they are, like solving the puzzles and like using the environment to their benefit. It's like fascinating.
When crows work together, they can capture territory and control points of interest that they'd otherwise be helpless to defend. They can even rescue each other from what would otherwise be guaranteed lethal attacks, using a tactic called mobbing. Mobbing is a strategy most commonly seen in birds, consisting of bombarding a single target with a barrage of both physical and sonic attacks. On their own, these would be easy to shrug off, but when you're getting pecked at and screeched at from all directions at once, it inflicts heavy physical and psychic damage.
Interesting.
This is what allows social corvids, like magpies and crows, to successfully chase away predators several times their size. Ravens, on the other hand, tend not to really need the help, as they're large enough to handle most opponents one-on-one.
Jesus
But they
Christ,
still
that
team up in order
raven.
to lock down a good source of carry-on. Alternatively, they may even ally themselves with wolf players, leading them to a carcass and letting them do the work fighting off their competition before sharing in the rewards. Anyway, that's a basic overview of the Corvid build. Now let's talk about their matchups. The Corvid matchup chart is heavily dependent on how effective their goading strike and mobbing techniques are against a given target.
I did not know that ravens, like wolves, let the ravens be there with them. Interesting.
Luckily, because of how high the Corvid's intelligence stat is, the list of targets goading strike works against is quite
Frying
long.
pan.
It is best against builds with lower intelligence stats. Things like vultures, things like reptiles, and things like rodents. What's more, this technique even works on one of the Corvid's two primary threats, feline builds. Deadly as cats are, they're often quite reactive and easily aggroed, so goading strike is the perfect tool to redirect their ferocity. This move is admittedly less effective against the Corvid's other main concern, raptors. However, thankfully the mobbing technique is quite effective against raptors, so for both of their main threats, the crow players have options. The only builds these techniques aren't that effective against are other high intelligence builds, such as monkeys and parrots. Because of their extremely strong social bonding and top-tier intelligence stat, Parrots are highly resistant to
Monster
psychic damage and
house.
do not turn
Oh
on each
my
other
god, that's
easily.
so cute.
In fact, when pestered by a Corvid, they are likely to defend each other fiercely using
That's
their
so
own,
many
more
parrots.
powerful beaks and louder shrieks. One-on-one, they're fairly evenly matched, so it tends to just come down to size. But in groups, Corvids tend to have difficulty forcing parrots away from an objective. As for monkeys, their higher HP allows them to more easily ignore the pecking attacks of a crow. And they're used to getting their tails tugged all the time by their own party members, so a crow doing it is unlikely to provoke a punishable response.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Crows and parrots have an interesting dynamic. I've said in previous videos that I believe parrots to be the more viable build. They have higher dexterity with their beaks, their sonic shriek attack is incredibly effective, they're more social, and arguably more intelligent even. And yet, of the two most intelligent bird builds, there's no denying that in the city
Interesting.
biome, Corvids are much more successful.
I need to see
I
the
think the reason
parrot
for this
one.
is that even though parrots are indeed more powerful on their own, and are better at using most tools than crows are better at using the most important tool, other players. From provoking attacks and redirecting aggression, to using passing vehicles to deal damage for them and unlock high-value loot, Corvids are the best of the best when it comes to using other build strengths to cover
Damn.
for their own shortcomings.
Dog joined the party. That's so cute. TierZoo always has like really cool edits on videos. But honestly, like just looking at it at like Corvids, right? I guess that they mastered PvP better. While parrots are more about PvE cooperation.
And if the human build's dominance is any indication, co-opting the strengths of less intelligent builds is one of the strongest strategies you can possibly execute in the game.
I like how less intelligent builds human right there.
And it's for this reason that Corvids sit proudly in S tier. Speaking of builds with a high success rate within the city biome, another creature that thrives in cities is the centipede. With their quick, twitchy movement and flat shape, they have
Ew.
no trouble weaving through all of the nooks and crannies common in urban environments. This is the subject of my next video, which will be out on YouTube in a month
I
or
did
so.
not want to watch
However,
that
if you'd like to watch that
video. It
right
looks
now, you can
gross.
access it a month in advance on Nebula, the sponsor of today's video.
That bug,
Now,
man.
many of you have heard me talk about Nebula before. It's
Oh.
the creator-owned platform with no ads, no algorithm, no clickbait, and phenomenal content.
Parrots are P-based,
But
Corvids
this
are PvP.
Nebula just underwent a massive overhaul to dramatically
I love
improve its
Corvids,
launch,
honestly.
to make Nebula's premium
They're
content
great.
easier to find. And
It was
its
a cool
creator list
video as
easier to
well.
sort through. We've now got categories you can quickly swipe through to get to the sorts of things you're interested in. Hey look, it's the science
If you're on
category.
YouTube and you're
who's on
still
top?
watching,
That's
thanks
right,
for
it's my
watching.
original series, Let's Play Outside,
See you
an educational
next
show
time.
spotlighting the individual lives of interesting animals, done in the style of a Let's Play live stream. One of the episodes I'm most proud of features the mantispid, a fascinating insect that has the characteristics of both a wasp and a mantis. How does it fare against other common garden insects? Well, you'll just have to check it out to see. I doubt many of you know this exists. It has been sort of hard to find on Nebula before, despite being exclusive to the platform. But now I really hope you give it a watch. One of the other new categories on Nebula is news, which I find really helpful given how complicated geopolitics tends to be lately. Specifically, they have this new current events show called The War Room, which is made by the same talented people behind real-life lore and modern conflicts. Much like how the monkey's intelligence helps it avoid being used as a pawn in the crow's
Excuse
plan,
me.
knowledge
What if
about
I
the
want
defining
to
geopolitics of our time is important to know
live
about
in
so that you
fantasy
are
and
not
not
provoked
read,
into a battle that
not
you
know
don't
about
understand.
the real life?
But on a more fun note, one show I've been really enjoying is Archaeology Quest, a show where scientists
sounds
compete
fun.
to see who can master the art of Paleolithic survival first. If this all sounds good to you, you can sign up to Nebula using my link at
That does sound pretty fun.
nebula.tv/TierZoo, or use the link below, which supports me directly and gets you all this amazing content for 40% off if you choose the annual plan,
Bees can
which
learn
adds
by
up to as
swarming
little
them.
as $2.50 a month. Thank you all so much for watching, thanks again to Nebula for sponsoring this video, and
Yeah,
as
I mean,
always,
it makes
good luck
sense.
out there.
It's very interesting to see how animals can band together to survive and do stuff. That like TierZoo definitely has been showing that quite a lot in their video. Always interesting.